And it's just basketball. At the end of the day, it's just basketball.
Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Like and subscribe on the way in the door, my people. I hope you all are having a truly fantastic day today on this Monday. So, as always, we are going to get to the super thanks, and this week, the title of the video actually comes from one of the questions of the super thanks shout out to Swan Daily. But before we get into it, I believe we actually may go live later tonight. Now, I can't guarantee what time yet because it's kind of just going to be after I get done with my day and get home. So, you know, I can't say exactly what time yet, but we're probably going to go live later on tonight, and we'll either be discussing more of PK Subban, or we'll be talking about the topic of what LeBron James deserves, because it seems that the mainstream media loves to, you know, anything that LeBron James does that's questionable, they love to excuse it by saying that, hey, he's been in the league so long, he deserves to do this, he deserves to do that. So, you know, we'll be discussing one or the other. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the super thanks. First up, but this is actually not where the title of the video comes from. Shout out to @Swan Daily. He comes through with the $2 super thanks. This is coming from my Why the LeBron James fan base are the worst fans in sports history video. That was actually a live stream. And he says, from one musician to another, what instruments do you play? I've been meaning to ask you this for a second. I'm actually a drummer, and I've been playing drums for probably about 30 years now, and play a little bit of bass, a little bit of keyboards, but definitely drums is my main thing. But shout out to @Swan Daily. Thank you so much for the $2 super thanks. Thank you so much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, this is coming from my LeBron James cursed himself by wearing the number 23. Shout out to @StoryGames8520. He comes through with the $2 super thanks. He says, fanboy logic. Well, LeBron James influenced the movie Coach Carter. It came out in 2005, and LeBron came in the league 2 years before that. That one right there makes him the GOAT. And indeed, that is definitely LeBron James fanboy logic. Basically anything this guy does makes him the GOAT, including flopping. You know, flopping is a high IQ basketball play, people. So don't underestimate the importance of flopping. If you don't flop, it's simply because you weren't smart enough to understand that cheating, if you can get away with it, that can make you the GOAT, people. Shout out to @StoryGames 8520. Thanks so much for the $2 super thanks, and thank you so very much for your continued support of the channel. Next up, this is coming from the first PK Subban video entitled Hockey Player Destroys LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and NBA Players with the Truth. Shout out to @QQ1981. He comes through with the $10 super thanks. He said, this guy is 100% on the money. Thanks. And that is facts. And like I said, we're going to talk about PK Subban some more. It seems like he really got a lot of people in the uproar, and I've actually been watching some videos from some other content creators, who are actually supporters of the modern NBA. And so we're actually going to probably do a few videos on some of these different content creators. Now, I never say their names, but their names are not important. What's important is going through the things that they say and telling the other side of the story. So we're probably going to be doing that this week because, like I said, PK Subban has really got a lot of people in the uproar. You know, some people want to discredit him because they say, oh, well, hockey, the ratings aren't even what they don't even get the same amount of ratings as the NBA. So why should anybody care what they say? You know, and that kind of thing. And so we're going to talk about that some more. But anyway, shout out to at QQ1981. Thank you so very much for the $10 super thanks. And thank you so very much for your continued support of the channel. And last but not least, this is where the title of the video is coming from. And this comes from my Marcellus Wiley Caps for Modern NBA Players and the All-Star Game video. Shout out to @Swan Daily coming through with the $2 super thanks. He says, since Guy brought up affluence, let's talk about how Kobe and MJ grew up better off than the fraud king, and they were still greater competitors than him. This fact makes LeBron look even worse. Also, this notion lets you know that Wiley's making an excuse. So yeah, let's talk about the fact that Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant grew up better off than LeBron James. But not only did they grow up better off with LeBron James, I think one of the main components is they both grew up with a father figure in their life. And so the kid from Akron, the whole kid from Akron thing is something that the deer likes to hold on to. He loves to hold on to that, you know, even as a 40-year-old, you know, I've still heard him refer to himself to, oh, well, you know, I'm just a kid from Akron, you know, I'm not even supposed to be here, blah, blah, blah. And this mentality, I think speaks to everything about LeBron James' career. And so I'm going to say something that fanboys no doubt will be upset about, but is not something that I haven't said before. And that is questioning how much LeBron James actually loves the game of basketball. Now, why do I say this? Because a lot of times people who grow up in not ideal circumstances, people who grow up in poor neighborhoods and whatnot, their drive for getting out of that environment, I believe, is a lot of time greater than the career they're actually pursuing. In other words, you know, a lot of basketball players who escape that environment, their passion is driven by the escape for trying to escape the environment rather than just becoming as good as you can at that thing that you love. The drive is actually coming from wanting to escape that environment, which is why a lot of times once they escape the environment, they no longer pursue that thing with the same aggressiveness as they pursued it before. Now, you take someone like Michael Jordan's and even Kobe Bryant, but let's talk about Michael Jordan, who, yes, grew up in a better situation than LeBron James. Like I said, the father figure thing there is an important detail. But outside of that, Michael Jordan was driven by the passion for basketball, not driven by trying to escape his current environment. He was driven simply by the passion of basketball. So once he got to the NBA, nothing had changed. He was still driven by the passion for basketball. And so, like I said, a lot of times people who grow up in poor environments, their mentality is trying to escape that environment. And oftentimes that's what's actually driving them, so that once they actually escape, they're no longer pursuing that thing with the same aggressiveness. Like I said, you can see the same thing in music. I believe, and don't get me wrong, because there's one-hit wonders comes from all walk of life, and there are people with short careers who come from all walk of life. But a lot of times, especially if you want to talk about the rappers, like you'll see a rapper come out and he's hot for, 2-3 years. And I believe the reason for that is because what was driving him is trying to get some money to escape the environment. He was driven by trying to get some money, trying to escape the environment. So once he got that, he no longer had motivation to write music that would reach people anymore. But it's the people who were driven by the music, like their actual love for the music is what the driving force was. Those are the people who continue to have success because it wasn't about just getting out of their circumstances. So that love for music carried them even after they escaped the circumstances, even after they got their first big check or two. They still had that love for music to carry them on because that was the initial motivation. And this is what we talk about on this channel all the time. It is about your initial motivation. This is why a lot of channels like to talk about numbers and accolades and all of these other things. Like, we talk about mindset and mentality because ultimately that to me is the driving force behind how much success you will get. It's your initial. Why are you doing it? Why are you really doing it? And you have to be able to have some self-honesty to answer that question, because a lot of people lie to themselves. Like I think a lot of NBA players want to lie to themselves, do lie to themselves. LeBron James lies to himself when he tries to convince himself that he's the same type of competitor that Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant is. You're lying to yourself. Like, you may want to be that, but you are just not built like that. And I believe, like I said, because your initial motivation was actually escaping your circumstances and not just truly a love for the game. And I can say this because if it was truly the love for the game, LeBron James would be a completely different player by now. LeBron James would be a completely different player. First of all, LeBron James would be able to shoot free throws by now. To me, there's no excuse for him not to have improved on his free throws greatly. LeBron James would be a better off-ball player by now. LeBron James would have had more championships, period. Just for the simple fact that he would have been, it wouldn't have to been all about the system all the time. LeBron James would have been willing to bend and mend his game to try to fit in however it needed to work to get the job done. But the reason that this didn't happen, and last but not least, and the narrative around LeBron James wouldn't be so much about him keeping his body in shape. To me, this is very weird that that as a supposed top 5 player, and I say supposed, for me he's not top 10. But for a supposed top 5 player, to me, it's kind of weird that the main narrative you hear about LeBron James is how much he keeps his body in shape, how great a shape he is in for 40 years old and whatnot. And it's not something either sports or specific to basketball. And what I mean by that is, like, with Larry Bird, you hear about his competitiveness. Like this is something, if you hear stories about Larry Bird, no doubt this is going to come up. You hear about how great of a shooter is. You hear about him trash talking in the game and whatnot. But I think that all equates to his competitiveness and the fire that he played with. Same thing with Kobe Bryant. Same thing with Michael Jordan. But even if you want to talk about someone like Kareem, to me, Kareem has one of the greatest claims to fame in that, he had the sky hook, arguably the most unguardable shot, and he was the only one who mastered it in the way that he did. And so, or who else if you want to put in Magic Johnson, you know, someone who was the greatest passer in the history of the game, in my opinion. To me, is no argument for that. There are other great passers. There are other great point guards. But to me, Magic Johnson is, like I said, to me, Magic Johnson as a point guard is on a different level. Magic Johnson literally was able to me, affect the game with his passing in the same way that a scorer would affect it with their scoring. Like, he was that aggressive at playmaking and running the court and really being the one who initiated setting up good passes. Again, not just like LeBron James, who will stand at the top of the key. I mean, stand at the 3-point line and wait for everybody else to make the moves. And LeBron James has made some good passes, but it's all about the other person doing all the work to get open and him delivering the pass. Whereas Magic Johnson was more about an attacking style of basketball to where he was creating opportunities for others. So for all the people who you could name and put in your, top 5, top 10, if you want to talk about Tim Duncan being called the big fundamental, they are all known for things that are specific to basketball or being a competitor in sports. But with LeBron James, this guy's known for staying in shape. This is very weird to me. This is very weird that this is your claim to fame. Like I said, to me, why you are doing something means everything. And I believe that LeBron James, ultimately, basketball for him was a way to, escape Akron, Ohio, to get out of the situation that he was in. And this is why his career is what it is. This is why, on top of the NBA spoiling and coddling him like he was an 18-year-old kid, and they still treat him like he's an 18-year-old kid. On top of that, but I think the main thing is, like I said, is basketball was a means to escape where he was from versus actually having that passion that, like, this is something that I want to soak up all the knowledge about for the rest of my life. Because this is what Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant did. Again, it's that story that I just did a video on James Worthy maybe a couple of months ago now, where he was telling a story about Kobe. I can't remember what years, but it was in Kobe's last years. Maybe might have been his last year, but in his last 1, 2, 3 years as an NBA player, him calling James Worthy and James having to be at the gym early in the morning, and it was because Kobe wanted to know a move that he had saw James Worthy do on a VHS tape from his father. And he's asking James Worthy how he does this move because Kobe's body was breaking down, and he thought this was a move that would help him be able to score more efficiently. To me, when you love the game, you have this need to constantly be learning something. And it's not just about not necessarily just about beating your opponent. Like, it is literally because you want to know everything about the game that you can possibly learn, And so, I don't think LeBron James has that. I don't think a lot of people have it. Like I said, I think a lot of people, especially coming from poor neighborhoods, that they latch on to something they're good at to use it as a means to escape that thing, but it's not necessarily because they actually have the utmost love and passion for that thing. It's like they're good at it and they use it to escape where they're from, but once they escape, like, then that the wanting and the desire and the need to continue growing and learning about that thing, it dissipates. But anyway, we gonna hold up here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. What do you think about the differences of how Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James came up. Like I said, they came up. Michael Jordan and Kobe both came from better environments, and like I said, both had father figures. And do you think that is a big part of why LeBron James is who he is? But as always, thanks to everyone who gave super thanks. You guys are greatly appreciated. I cannot thank you all enough. Thanks to each and every one of you who continue to support the channel. I cannot thank you all enough. And as always, please continue to support all the content creators who are giving you honest takes. Shout out to Sports and Fitness Rants, Angry Old Hoops, Phenomenal Fitness, Man Down Sports, Sports Tea, Uncut Hoops, Dreamers Pro, Scap Attack, Too Raw for Sports, Ticket TV, Kwame Brown. Shout out to 93 Zay. Shout out to who else am I forgetting at the moment? Anybody else I forget, please drop them in the comments. But anyway, you all have a truly fantastic day, and I'll see you next time. All right.